Hey everybody, it's Chrissy from Tales of the Ravenous Reader, and I am here with an amazing panel of authors. Today I'm really excited to launch Pictures in the Light from Loy Gilbert. We've been waiting forever for this book. I feel like I've been waiting since Conviction came out. Like, where's the next book? So I'm really excited for that. We also have Anna-Marie McLemore here with Wild Beauty and like a million other books. How many do you have now? 6?
Number 4 will come out this fall.
Okay. Plus all your anthologies and things like that, right? Are you in a few anthologies?
Yes, I've had a couple come out. This has been sort of my spring of queer historical fiction, which has been really fun between All Out and my story in the Ravenous.
That is really, really amazing. I need to read that still. I haven't read it yet.
It's a wonderful anthology. I'm so excited.
That's awesome. I remember when I met Jessica and she was like, I can't wait. It hadn't come out that way. And I was like, I'm like, I can't wait for it to come out. I love anthologies. So
I would also like to point out that we're all dressed as Wild Beauties today.
You are all dressed in all of the flowers. Very nice. And we have Emily X.R with The Astonishing Color of After Which This Book Broke Me. Your book broke me, and your book broke me, and your book just makes me want to just emote. So I'm so excited to be here with you, and I want to talk first about your characters, because each of your characters have a really distinct voice. They feel very genuine and real. So how did you create them? How did they just come to fruition in your mind, and what was the thing that surprised you most about them? Feel free to start wherever.
I think for me, writing is always about characters first. And I feel like I would be happy writing a book where everyone's just like sitting in a room and the characters talking to each other. So
I'd be happy to read them, just so you know. Especially your
I will write that
down. Let's make that happen.
And I feel like what is so interesting to me about the characters is always going to be their relationships with each other, and all the ways in which things are complicated and messy and there's shades of gray. And so for Pictures in the Light, I was especially interested in the main character, Danny's relationship to his parents. I think especially because they're hiding a really big secret from him, and so I was interested in what it would look like to watch that play out through sort of when he's finding that out and seeing how it changes their relationship.
I love that you wrote parents into the book, because so often we have to get parents out of the way so that the teens and the youth can experience what they're going to experience. But you actually put them centered. A lot of Danny's story centers around his history and his relationship with his parents, which is very fascinating, especially considering the area that we live in and how much that comes into play here. Like I'm working really hard as a parent so that you can have your next level of success. So I appreciate thinking about that.
And I think that is such a central part of being a teen.
Absolutely.
You live most of the time with your parents.
That's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
That like when you're a teenager, like in a lot of stories, it's like Cinderella syndrome. Like
Yes.
you need the parents out of the picture so the kids can have the adventure. But actually, in real life, like I remember being a teen and having my world be so colored by my parents.
Your family life is huge. That's your home. That's your world.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's why I love writing family stories. That's why I did it in Wild Beauty, and that's why family plays a lot in Walking Europa, which is coming out this fall. Is that your family makes you, for better or for worse, in wonderful ways and sometimes heartbreaking ways. So I think when it comes to character, family is so much of it. It's both what your family has taught you, what your family has made you, and how you're going to push against that, and also takes it with you into the world.
Well, and family plays an integral role in your book in a really different way as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, Lee has so many, in The Astonishing Color, Lee has so many unanswered questions about her family that means that part of her identity is hidden from her. And she spends the book unlocking secrets and digging up these things that were buried for so long. And when she finally is able to pull them out and understand them, she understands something about herself. I actually started, going back to character, I started out writing the book because of my grandmother. The original version of the book was like a 40-year epic historical fiction thing about this woman starting in 1927 in Taiwan, and it was entirely an ode to my grandmother and her wild life stories. And so I began there, and what was surprising to me was how the book morphed into this thing with all these other characters who all are taken from really important pieces of my own life. Like, the seed of it was my grandmother, and then it became this entire family.
That's amazing. I love that. You should do a little novella on the grandmother.
I would totally read that.
I would totally read that too.
There's still her story is still in the book. Not as big as I originally thought, but yeah.
It's really beautiful. really beautiful. So let's talk a little bit about what was tough to write in the story. I mean, obviously it's tough to write a book. There's no question about that. It's tough to be a published author and all the things that come along with that. But what would you say was the most challenging part of your book to write? And maybe the most rewarding, and maybe they're the same thing, right?
Looking at each other, who's going to start?
Everything.
I know. I remember you saying recently that like this was the toughest thing you've
This
done,
was a really
right?
hard book for me to write. I think it took me so long to find the heart of the story, and I spent like 2 years writing drafts that were so different from what the final book ended up being. And I think a big part of that was I was trying to force relationships to happen that weren't working. And I think in the end, the relationship between Danny and the person he's in love with, his best friend Harry, is one of my favorite parts of the book. And in the early drafts, it was like super different. He was involved with somebody else, and there was like this whole storyline. And so I think trying to figure out who the characters really were in relation to each other took me such a long time. And I think that was one of the hardest parts of the book.
I love their relationship, and I love how natural it is and how it's explored in a way that's different. This is not like Danny's coming out to me.
So being queer and being Latina, those are obviously parts of my life that I live with every day, but they're parts that I still struggle with. Is that allowed? And are they allowed each at the same time? So when I wrote What the Moon Was Ours, when it was received by so many readers and such a wonderful way, it meant so much to me, I still sort of felt like I'd gotten away with something. I was like, okay, I wrote my queer book, that's the queer book I'm allowed. So I tried to make Wild Beauty not queer. I tried to make Ultimately With This Girl straight, and it just was not working. So that was the hardest part for me, is just getting to the point where it's like, okay, why is this draft working? It's because you're trying to write part of yourself, part of your own community, out of your own community. And it's hard because I love my community. I love being Latina, I love being Mexican. We are not the best about homophobia, about biphobia, about transphobia. Queerphobia in general. So getting to the point where like, okay, I need to write a community where queerness is accepted like that. Even if that's not the one I'm doing. I want to write something like that. I want to write this entire generation of people who is queer, who speak that language. So it took a long time to be able to get to the point of thinking, yes, I'm allowed to do that. This is who they are. So the drafts were really, really bad until I got to that point, until I let the book be what it happened to be.
This reminds me of the conversation we were having in the car on the way here about, I was talking about how I wanted to write Asian parents a certain way. Kind of because I think as authors, there's the idea of reflecting the world around you that you see, but then there's also the idea of creating space for something that is needed.
Right.
And I think we have the room to do that in our books, and maybe we can in fact change that way. Like, allowing for, I was talking about how I'm resistant to writing Asian parents of Asian American children who are tiger mommy, or they are stereotypically abusive towards their kids in the way that a lot of Asian parents can be when they're immigrants. And I, even though my husband was asking, like, how much of this do you see, of the counterexample do you see among your friend groups? And I was like, not many, but I need to create that space because we need to fight those stereotypes. And there do exist people who don't exist, who don't live with that kind of stereotype built into their family, and they need to be reflected too. So
I feel like it's so hard to feel like you have permission, though, to write both stereotypes and also against stereotypes.
yeah, I think it's about how you unpack things on page and how the angle at which you're approaching things.
Well, you did some of that too by making Danny an artist and making that it's natural, right? Like it's just natural that's part of him and his parents. It's not when you're going to be a doctor, or when you're going to be, a lawyer or something else. It's really what it is. Which of course, here there's the assumption here in the Bay Area that you're going to go to an IB and you're going to be something really important that's not so. I think what you said was really important. I remember reading Exit Pursued by a Bear, and at the end of it, it's like, this is almost a fantasy. I feel like I wrote a fantasy when I wrote something for J.K. Johnson says that, and it's like, that's true, because it's not, maybe not, it's the world that we live in today, but it's the world that we aspire to.
Yeah, I wrote a letter to her about that book where I told her, like, this was not my experience, far from it, but I'm really, really glad
Yeah.
because that experience is too.
Right, it's important. Yeah, exactly. So last question around world building, because world building doesn't get talked about a lot in contemporary settings. So let's talk a little bit about how you created the world that your characters are living in, what you thought was important, and what were the fun elements to research.
My book kind of did a weird turn, because when I first sold the book, it had a fantasy world and the real world, and the two were braided together. Like, stories were happening in both worlds, and it was all woven and threaded together. And then I made the decision to completely strip out the fantasy world and take everything in the fantasy world and move it into the real world, so it became way more of a ghost story. And that world building kind of happened strangely organically, despite the fact that I was trying to write to fill in this huge gap I had created, and it tied into research for me because I made a trip to Taiwan specifically to revise the book. Originally, the real world stuff was set in Shanghai, not Taipei. And that didn't make any sense for the characters, who were Taiwanese characters. And so I went to Taiwan. It was my first time visiting in like 13 years. And being there, there are a lot of things that you do when you're traveling. Some is for work and some is for pleasure, but every part of my trip ended up seeping into the book. There were little moments, little encounters that we had with people on the streets, and all those things wove their way into my book. So it almost feels like the experience took over for me. I was not conscious of the world building process. So
It feels really natural. I was wondering if you took a trip over there to see what it was like and kind of get that experience.
Yeah, I wanted to literally walk in the footsteps of my character and see and taste and hear everything she was experiencing.
I loved the chance to research gardens. That feels so you. I know. With friends, when I told my friends like I'm writing a book about gardens, they're like, "Oh, shocker!" But I loved getting to research how they're built and researching some of the history, some of which is beautiful underneath it, and some of which is terrifying. I can't go too much into it because some of the spoilers maybe in the book. But what is horrifying under that which is beautiful in both the literal and figurative way. So finding out history while at the same time I'm getting to research different plants. Like I got to go to these gardens and ask people like what plants can I put next to each other and make sure that like I wasn't putting two flowers next to each other that were the kind that were going to choke each other if they were in the same flower bed. So doing that was something that really grew the story and both let me sort of build the setting, but also build the sort of mythology of this garden and how its history was connected to the history of these women and also its secrets from these women and to anyone and from anyone who visited it.
So there's secrets in your books.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, in all of our books.
Yes. There's secrets behind the scenes. So. What were you going to say?
Oh, I was just going to say that I feel like in a past life you must have been a botanist.
I think you're probably right.
Well, now in your first life, you're like, right?
So my book is set in Cupertino, which is where I grew up, and I feel like it was such a specific place to grow up, and I didn't even realize that until I left it. And then, I'd have experiences like my friends at college. I'd be like, "Oh, you didn't after school go and like take studio pictures with all your friends and like little stick figures," or just like such random things that felt so specific to where I grew up. And I felt like when I was growing up, all those stories that I was reading about Asian American characters were randomly fish out of water stories, where it'd be like one Asian American girl in Midwest or something like that, and that was so different from Cupertino, which was majority Asian American, and I always really wanted to read a book that reflected, I guess, where I grew up, what it was like to grow up there, and so I wanted to do that in this book. That was something that had been like the story of my heart for a really long time, so I was really, really happy I got to finally write like my Cupertino book.
I loved it. I thought it was really, really healthy for living in community, so I appreciate that. Thank you all for being there. These books are amazing, and they have a lot in common. Like I think that was really this would not be hard to talk to the authors about this because they have so much in common, so much history and culture and setting in them. So appreciate the writing that you do and how it drew me in. And just, I couldn't read. I read both of your books back to back, and I couldn't read for 2 weeks afterwards. So I just not been able to read again. So I really appreciate that. If you haven't checked them out, Kempla's will have signed copies afterwards, and if not, you'll be able to see them out soon. Are you guys all going to events around? You're going to Yale West?
Yes.
Yes. So we need other events, right?
Yes, I think they haven't been announced.
Okay, well, we won't tell. We'll announce them later. And you're always local to it, too.
Yeah, I went too far, and I will be at BookCon this year, and hopefully
Does that mean there's art screening of your book? We won't tell.
I actually don't think I hope so, but I will share what I know.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for being here. Thank you. Bye.